I'm going to be talking about a fake conservative, and just the one because they get on my nerves a lot, and I've seen them a lot, and they get banded around and do the media circus, and I find it really irritating. And it's just one example of how people can use things like the culture war and things that are legitimate concerns to the native population and piggyback on it to make a career for themselves. But in an entirely unrelated note, we have a magazine.
This is very good.
It is a very good magazine, and if you want to be in the exclusive club of Islander magazine owners, I believe I was told there's only 1,000 copies left, and so we're almost sold out. So actually, you need to kind of hurry up. But
do you want to be a loser? Do you want to wake up at the end of the week and realise you've not got Islander?
Look at how beautiful it is. It's a beautiful magazine. And yes, Rory's done a great job with the graphics. And also there's merch on the website as well if you want to get yourself a t-shirt or a mug if you're not into reading. And
like Josh?
Yeah, I don't like reading. Who cares? Who cares about words, eh? The written word.
Get yourself a mug.
But if you care about words, this is your best way to spend your money. But anyway, with that out of the way...
Wow.
Stop looking at the merch store. I'm done now.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Yes. So the lady I'm talking about is this one, this lady here. And here she is talking to Jacob Rees-Mogg on GB News. GB News love inviting her on. And she's often referred to as Britain's strictest head teacher. And this isn't a self-appointed title. This was the title of, I think it was a 2022 ITV series, which looked at her school that she was ahead of. And we're going to be looking at all of the different things that she's done in her school. And some of it's good, some of it's bad.
I don't know if I'd be proud of that. Just being strict by itself.
I was about to.
Good thing.
You
want to
exactly
be the best head teacher, and strictness can actually be counterproductive to encouraging students to learn.
I was going to say exactly that. Great minds, Harry.
There we go.
But yes, she gets invited onto lots of things, and we're going to eventually get to some of them. But I wanted to, go to her profile here. Britain's strictest headmistress, she calls herself that, but I think that's just a good marketing term if you want to appear in the media. It gives the media a reason to talk to you, of Michaela School, which we're going to be talking about as well. Small C conservative values, here we go, that's how she gets a foot in the door. Truth, race, and personal responsibility. I mean, I'm okay with the truth and personal responsibility part.
What does race mean in isolation like that?
I don't know. It seems unusual, but you will see...
It's its own sentence.
What she actually
which
believes.
one?
Yeah, that's a very good snapshot of her school, because it's in London, I believe.
So it's going to be very mixed and diverse.
It is, yes. It's like
this is useful then.
It is. We'll be talking about this. Right. Don't worry. So we need to go to her early life, because she was born in Auckland, New Zealand. She is the daughter of Frank Birbalsingh, an Indo-Guyanese man, and his wife and her mother is from Jamaica. She mostly grew up in Toronto and Canada, and spent periods in Nigeria and France, and then eventually studied in Oxford. And she also was a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, which is interesting.
Who's Living Marxism by? I'm curious now.
Have a look.
Who wrote this? Just the Journal of the
Revolutionary
Communist Party.
Yeah. So she has no claim to being British, either culturally or ethnically, because obviously she's not spent much time here. She has no heritage here.
Spent most of her life in Canada.
Here are pictures of the school. You can see that it is a very new school. It is one of the UK with a Y schools, isn't it? It's very diverse. So I'm going to read a little bit about this school, because you start to get a picture of this person who's being invited on the right-wing media circuit.
Suella Braverman was the first chair of governors there.
Yes, interesting that she was there when it was founded. And also, Michael Gove, this is from Wikipedia, I think it's down the bottom here. The school has been described as a beneficiary of former UK Education Secretary Michael Gove's support, both financially and bureaucratically. And also, in September of 2019, the school was cited by Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, remember Conservative government at this point, another Conservative, in the same party as the other two, and as an example of a free school in a tough area that achieved excellent results. So my pet theory is that this school is given as much support as humanly possible, because all of these senior Conservative politicians have skin in the game. If the school does badly, it reflects badly on their education policy, on their competence as,
Also,
government officials.
it's a blueprint for the future.
It is exactly that. It's a rough area in a diverse part of London. You don't read between the lines in that statement. And they're getting good results. And of course, there is the fact that if you've got a very specific school with a very specific ethos, maybe it selects for the kind of people that are going to do well. It could necessarily be, you get a good grammar school with a high entry requirement. You get a higher standard of student that's more enthusiastic to be there in the first place. It's just, it's possible. That's all I'm saying. But I want to point out just how dystopian this is. And this all has a purpose. I'm not just having a go at the school. And some of it I do approve of. I do approve of them trying very hard to give them a good education and also trying to not let them get away and be slack with bad behaviour. That stuff is great. So I want to be a bit nuanced. I'm not just having a go. But I'm going to read from this. The school emphasises discipline and has a traditional style of teaching. That's fine. There is a zero tolerance policy regarding poor behaviour. That's good. Fine. A boot camp week at the start of the year teaches the New Year 7 pupils the rules and consequences of breaking them. Perfectly fine. There is a strict uniform code and no group work. Well, this sounds good to me so far. This sounds okay. But then it starts going a little
Group
bit...
work has positives and negatives.
Sometimes. Normally it was just me doing all the work, so I didn't get in trouble, and then other people flying on my coattails.
I was thinking, well, it can help with group decision making and teamwork, but then again, you are right. Most of the time, it would be like, oh, I guess I'll do everything then.
Mm-hmm. And then it says children sit in rows and learn by rote, and walk in single file between classrooms. So now it's starting to sound a bit like a prison.
Sounds a bit Chinese.
It does, doesn't it? A bit Singaporean, perhaps. Staff at the school tend to reject most of the accepted wisdoms of the 21st century.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Like that bit.
Yeah, the only problem is they've rejected the wrong ones. Pupils must be silent in school corridors and are forbidden to gather in groups larger than 4. This sounds like some sort of curfew or like a prison yard. You're basically preventing the children from having a childhood.
Groups larger than 4 in the corridors or on all of the school grounds?
Forbidden to gather in groups of larger than 4, I guess.
I suppose
in general.
It doesn't specify in school corridors there. So just in general, sorry, you're not allowed more than 4 friends at a time.
Well, you've got a friend group of 5.
They're going to have to stand on their own.
You're going to have to single that one out. You know the one.
They've got to be 2 metres away. School policies have been described as neo-strict because it combines the use of punishments with rewards. Merit points are given for good behaviour and achievement. That's fine, I suppose.
We had merit points in my school.
Yeah, same here. And then it carries on to... the lunchtime one is the one that I'm most offended by. Lunchtime consists of a pescatarian meal, and it doesn't serve beef or pork.
Oh, I wonder why.
Because of Indians and Muslims. And remember, this is someone who's supposedly... going out of a way to enforce British values on them. This obviously British
Why
woman.
not at least some chicken then?
I know, yeah. It has to be fish, apparently. Chicken's off the table.
Well, look at the next bit. Pupils sit at a table of 6. Well, just a minute ago, it was 4.
I know, yeah. Well, they're allowed an extra 2 people. One of them is a teacher or guest, though, so it's actually 5. And take responsibility for serving each other. They lay the table together. One pours water, another brings in and serves the food. So it's basically courting them to be... like waiters and waitresses.
This feels like surf class.
It does. Another serves dessert.
I don't know. I think on balance, I'm still on board.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's certainly worse things, but it just seems a little bit arbitrary.
Yeah, it feels arbitrary. It feels strange, and the Englishman in me just looks at this and says, as long as they're not breaking the rules, let the children play how they want at break time.
This is exactly the sentiment I was going to get at. It's very un-English.
But it isn't in England. Yeah. This school is in London.
That's true. It is
I
its own
suppose
principality.
Given the breakup of the population there, you have mentioned Singapore. I can imagine where you're going to be taking this next. Mm-hmm. I believe that we might have been taking some lessons from Singapore's former premier.
Yes. How did you know?
It's in the document right there.
Oh, well, don't read my notes, cheat. To clear the table following the meal. I wonder how they decide those two. That's a rough end of the stick. Teachers eat with their students, and the tables discuss what the children have learned that day, or a topic of the day, such as the most inspirational person they have learned about in their history classes. So they don't have any opportunity to actually be children and have fun and talk to each other. They've always got adult supervision at all times. After eating, the pupils spend 5 minutes thanking someone, followed by 2 claps from the rest of the school. This is like 1984 for dinner ladies.
What age group
becoming increasingly Soviet. What happens to the first people to stop clapping?
They don't get pudding.
What age group does this go up to in this school?
18.
It's a secondary
18?
school, yeah.
Right, because there's got to be at least some 16 and 17-year-olds who are watching Zoomer Historian, and if they all sit around at dinner time to discuss the most inspirational historical figure they've been learning about.
So, children, who's your favourite philosopher? No, you don't answer. Don't answer that.
Oh, dear. Yeah,
Teacher, I've got a question about Lebensraum.
It also says children are not allowed to bring food or drink to school, which includes snacks and chewing gum. Chewing gum, I can understand. Children make a mess with chewing gum. But they're not allowed to bring their own food or drink. So you bring a bottle of water with you, you're not allowed that. The school has to provide everything for you. You must be subservient to the school.
So you're not allowed to bring your own food or drink, but so that means that explicitly, unless you are eligible for free school meals, the school is making profit off of you by charging you for food.
Well, they're not charged.
£2.50.
That was how much I paid almost 17 years ago when I was in school. So it's obviously subsidised.
I don't care. What I did was bring in a sandwich.
Mm-hmm. I mostly did that too.
A sandwich, a packet of crisps, and a drink of some kind.
Maybe a chocolate bar.
Maybe a chocolate bar if I was.
I didn't,
had the same lunch, yes.
You're not making
Did
the
your
case to me.
school also have the kid who would come in with a backpack full of Pepsi, who would sell it off?
There's
at
always
50p
and that's
per
always
can.
one. And
Yeah.
that's what they're doing,
First
that's what they're
merchant.
stopping. I've got to say on back because
that was an entrepreneurial spirit.
London, one of them would be dealing smack out of their backpack if you let them bring their own food in. There would be little baggies coming out.
This isn't Scotland. Smack is not food.
All I'm saying is, Josh, is you've not made the case. I'm still on balance pro this school.
Well, you'll change your mind eventually.
Right, okay.
But would you want your own daughters going there?
Well, yeah, but I live in England, not London.
No, fair.
So, I saw this. This is from Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. We have to lock up people without trial, whether they are communists, whether they are language chauvinists, whether they are religious extremists. If you don't do that, the country would be in ruins. Why did he take such a strict line? Well, it was because there were 3 competing ethnicities in Singapore, and he had to be strict.
Who all hated each other.
Yes.
Is that why Singapore went like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know the
Literally
backstory.
because it was multi-ethnic, and Lee Kuan Yew said there's only one way to solve this.
And this person here rightly points out, as Europe diversifies, its police state will grow. And part of the reason I think that this school has been so successful is it's ruling over a Tower of Babel, basically, isn't it? Of 1,000 cultures with an iron fist. And that's why. Whereas the English sensibility, and why I was sort of reflexively disgusted, as was Harry, is that it's not English. It's not an English way of doing things. It's not part of our culture.
But it's not in England. It's in London, and people.
Yes, but it's being used as a model to say this is great. Get this everywhere. That's why the Conservatives have
this doesn't
got
need to come to Surrey or Hampshire, for example.
I will also say, if there's one thing I wouldn't want Michael Gove near, it's a school, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, only if it's
You've heard those rumours too, have you?
I think we all have.
And I was talking to Cunley Druckper about this.
Actually, by the way, I don't mean that. Don't sue me. I don't mean it.
And he's saying, by the way, Josh, since Singapore is actually less diverse than the UK, it could actually afford to be less strict about these things and hold more of the well, you get the idea, right? But he's basically saying that now Singapore's actually more mono-ethnic than the UK. They can afford to be less strict, famously strict Singapore, than we are, which is interesting, isn't it? So this strictness is actually just the new form of ruling your minority kingdom. It's a pilot study. Why do you think all the senior Tories are involved? It's because it's a means of figuring out how you're going to govern your new disunited rabble, I suppose.
Multi-ethnic state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I saw this, and this is her on Spiked. For multiculturalism to work, we all need to make sacrifices. No, we don't.
Well, I guess in that case, I don't want multiculturalism to work because I never wanted it here in the first place.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Why should we Englishmen sacrifice our own liberties that we fought for centuries just for the sake of some batshit insane experiment that's never worked anywhere it's been tried?
If someone
port to port.
If someone came into my house and I said, would it be all right if you took your shoes off? And they said, no, I want to keep my shoes on. I'd be like, well, okay, I want you out of my house then. It's as simple as that. Yeah. If you don't respect the rules of the house, you leave. You get kicked out. That's the way it works the world over, in our homes. Used to be our country as well. That is the norm. That is normal. That is the default human experience. And the expectation that we should have to make sacrifices is the aberration and a moral abomination. At my school, we don't eat meat or allow Muslim children to pray separately. We need to share in the overall British experience.
That's the reason not a British experience. What's British about any of that?
None. The reason she doesn't allow Muslim children to pray separately is because it's not inclusive. So it's not. There's no baseness to it. It's not like we're not having any of that nonsense in here. It's more, well, if you go off and pray separately, that makes you divided from the rest of the school, and that will be bad, because everything has to be about keeping these disparate groups together.
Wait,
the entire way in which the school is structured is
they don't let the ginger kids in on the Muslim prayers, do they?
They better not.
That'd be like honey to a fly. That would.
Oh no. Well, if there's any kids white enough to be ginger in school.
But loads of the Muslim parents tried to sue the school, and I think were defeated in the end because of it. But this was picked up on by Connie Druckber, and this was, I thought, quite excellent, because I'd actually included some of these pictures in my segment before I spotted it.
That British values hand. Fuck off.
Yeah, just all of the things that we've had to sacrifice. Like, we've got the multi-faith prayer room, obviously for Muslims. Look at it.
Yeah.
The school uniform, I don't have any gripes with. The fact you've got to make them eat vegetables is annoying. Humanity close, just renaming streets. The CCTV state, all of the authoritarianism.
The police officer waiting to throw John Stuart Mill in your face. It's all in here, sonny.
But yeah, it's all nonsense, isn't it? We shouldn't have to make sacrifices. And the fact that people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who you'd think would have a little bit more of a spirited defence of Englishness...
No, he said many times he doesn't care about demographic change in this country.
That's true.
And I believe him.
But you'd at least think a man who embodies the Platonic ideal of an aristocrat would at least have something. But no, apparently not. And she also... oh no, this comes from this article. I've gone on long enough, so I'm not going to read from this. But it's basically even worse in the article than it is in the byline that they used to advertise it. It says, our position at school is that for multiculturalism to work, we all need to make various sacrifices. We have Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Jehovah's Witnesses. We've got kids from a whole variety of different backgrounds, black and white. And in order for all of us to get along, we can't say that we want what we want goes. We have one group or have one group dominate. I can't read for some reason. Apparently I didn't go to this school. What we need to do is share in the overall British experience. Well, the overall British experience is being ethnically British, not being any of those religions other than Christian.
Well, those poor white kids aren't getting a British experience, are they?
No, they're not.
They're in the land of their ancestors in what's supposed to be its capital city, and they're getting whatever this is.
Some multiculti nonsense. And unsurprisingly...
All right, calm down there, Mike Graham.
Going to be on Talk TV in no time.
One day.
She wrote this article 2 days ago now, actually. In defense of Ofsted's Hamid Patel. This is the guy. This is not a CIA most wanted list. This is, I believe...
He's the Ofsted chair now.
Ofsted chair. And she does make out an important point that the position of Ofsted chair is in reality a largely ceremonial role.
Which makes it all the more interesting that as a symbol for such a ceremonial role that they would choose this man.
Yeah, and I think that she's complaining about all of the people complaining about his appointment. But what it suggests is that Islam just has another foothold to further impose itself on people who are either indifferent to it or actively oppose it.
I've seen him before. Wasn't he in the opening scene of Team America World Police?
I think so, yeah.
So what's this line that you've got highlighted here? Just as I have prohibited prayer in my secular school, Hamid Patel has upheld the traditions of his Islamic schools, encouraging girls to wear the hijab.
Yes.
So where is the Britishness
in
any of this? Where's the...
He's encouraging women to wear hijabs. That must make him British.
That must make him conservative.
Yeah, this is not...
I mean, unironically, Conservatives will adopt that line within a few years.
Well, they are spineless cowards. So
this isn't in the interest of the native British people in any sense of the word. And it's even being picked up in America. Here they are talking about meet the strictest headmistress in Britain. Here they are writing a puff piece about it. Blah, 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 blah.
Thomas Chatterton Williams.
Here she is on LBC talking to Nick Ferrari. Who actually opposed some of the things she was saying.
You can't say the bus was late, that's why I'm late. What if the bus was late?
Well, you've...
I guess it's 4 lashings for me.
And here's Peter Boghossian, known accused liberal. We need more educators like her. And there are loads of people replying, leftists mainly, saying... This is the crux of all conservatives. They believe you should be held responsible at all times for things completely out of your control, which is not representative of conservatives at all. They think that being conservative just means being mean and strict because that's how she presents it. But that's not true at all. As we can see, we are more conservative than she is. And we, well, other than maybe Dan, mostly disagree with the means that...
Well, I wouldn't want to send my kids here, but then I don't live in London.
Not yet.
But imagine you did live in London.
Imagine London is a gigantic festering...
Yeah, well, I did live in London for 20 years, and as soon as I had kids, it was like, right, I'm not raising them here.
That's
Again,
fair enough,
but it's a tumour, and the cancer will spread.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you can also go too far in the other direction, and The Guardian was whinging about her as well, saying the dogma of Britain's strictest headmistress is upon as old as time. Gentle parenting produces happier kids. So there's
that picture does look very relaxing.
Yeah, that does look like
if you could get your baby to do that, you've done something right.
I don't think she'd stay still.
The problem here is, but gentle parenting, it's just like, it's okay. You're just getting a little bit angry. You'll get it out of your system once you've smashed up our bookcase. That's what I imagine when I hear gentle parenting. And also, is the aim to produce happier kids or is it to produce healthier kids? Because, eating your vegetables rather than eating a tub of ice cream would make a child less happy, but it is the right thing to do, right?
Yes.
And it goes too far in the opposite direction. And so I just wanted to draw attention to this because not only does it show some of the tools in the toolkit of the elites that they're going to use on their new... multicultural dominion, I suppose, but also the kinds of people who are spreading these ideas and they get the rounds in the media, despite the fact that were people to be more knowledgeable about their actual beliefs and what they're pushing for, there's no way anyone would remotely consider them right-wing or conservative in any sense of the word.
Islander issue 3 is now available to purchase from shop.lotus.com and is the next step in the story that we are telling with this magazine. For this issue, we have collected piercing and esoteric essays from the finest right-wing minds on the theme of our civilizational winter. Each of our authors is an expert in bringing forth the most important hidden revelations from the lowest reaches of the soul, and it has all been beautifully rendered in a medievalist revivalist aesthetic. For this issue, I commissioned a new translation of the ancient Anglo-Saxon poem, The Wanderer, and have written a companion essay exploring how it is a reflection of our modern experience. I personally feel that this is the most important thing I've ever written, so I will be looking forward to your feedback on it. We have resolved our distribution issues, with the magazines being printed in advance of the orders, so we can guarantee that you will receive your copy very soon after ordering it, and you will also receive emailed updates so you can see exactly where it is. Hopefully, issue 3 can provide you with the space and context to engage in deep reflection about the nature of our circumstances, to discover hidden truths about yourself and find the resolve to make it through our spiritual exile.